All right, thanks everybody for joining the 3 p.m. session. We've got presenter Richard M., Senior Security Engineer and Independent Vulnerability Researcher at Route Zero Security. Ranked among the top 25 researchers in OpenAI's Bug Bounty Program, credited with security discoveries acknowledged by Apple, Microsoft, Google, and the BBC. His research focuses on overlooked attack surfaces and practical exploitation in everyday software. So let's give a round of applause for Richard.
Hello everyone. Sorry for the little delay there. I got a little bit lost trying to traverse the building. So thank you for coming to my talk. So I gave a version of this talk earlier at DEF CON in August, and I'm very happy to share this talk with you, all of you. So with that, I will, do I just press this? Okay. Okay. All right. So I just want to start with the hidden photos. In iOS 18, so one of the new features that Apple added was this neat little feature where you can hide your photos. So let's just start with a quick poll. So if any of you have ever taken a picture of something where you definitely wouldn't want your mom or your partner to see, please raise your hand. Okay, about half the room, and then just half liars. That's okay. So there's a new neat feature in iOS 18 where you can hide your photos, and then it'll store those hidden photos in a locked, Face ID locked hidden album. So one thing that, I like to do whenever Apple releases a new feature is to see if it's actually implemented correctly. So let's just take a look here and see if that. Oh, oops! Oh, not that one. Could you help maybe play the? Oh, okay. So green arrow. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, so I open my hidden album, and then I exit the hidden album app or Photos app, and then it's locked again. Yeah, so not good. So fortunately, this issue was fixed in iOS 18.5. If any of you haven't updated your phones for whatever reason, and you're still on like 18.4 or below, please feel free to reproduce this on your own phones with your own pictures, which I won't ask about. Okay, and then. Okay, so if you just want to look, so like what went wrong here. So basically, so that D that you see after biometric hit D is the daemon. So biometric hit D and local authentication framework should be prompting you for Face ID every time you try to open your hidden album, or even your recently deleted photos. So normally, it should prompt you before it displays any photos from that album, but if you already unlocked the album once and then you exited the app and then you went back in, it relocks, but then when you prompt Siri, it'll actually kind of circumvent the Face ID part, and you can do it two different ways, right? So you can either have it send that photo to a contact, or you can have, if you have the ChatGPT extension enabled on your iPhone, you can type it to ChatGPT and it will reveal the last hidden photo that you viewed in your album without prompting you for Face ID. So I obviously used a very benign photo here for my example, but I imagine a lot of you would probably have some spicier photos in your hidden album. So you could just imagine if your girlfriend's like, hey, can I just look at your phone really quick? And she says, hey. And this to like Danny, and then it's like, whoa, I didn't know he took a picture of me like when I was doing that. So, okay, great. So that's the first one, and then, okay, so, okay, actually that should be 2024. Okay, yeah, but so when Apple released the first developer beta of iOS 18, back in June 2024, I installed it immediately, and then about 5-10 minutes after, I noticed this very interesting issue in Spotlight, where if you just type, so if your phone is locked, you pull down Spotlight on your phone, and then you just type in like pages or photos, shortcuts, files, keynote, notes. It would show like the most recently accessed like notes or keynote numbers. It will show a thumbnail of whatever you were last viewing. And okay, yeah. So I started to wonder. Okay, so that's interesting. So Apple made some changes to how Spotlight works in iOS 18. So I started to wonder. Okay, is it just limited to like what you can see, right? Or can you actually do something in Spotlight? So in iOS 18, Apple added these things called action shortcuts. So for example, if you, any of you use iPhones here? Like everyone? Okay, hopefully, since you're here. So if you're on your lock screen and then you just pull down your Spotlight and then you type in like voice memos or books, you'll notice like there are these little action buttons that show up next to the app. And so since it was a new feature, a lot of the apps that had implemented them in the beginning did not require authentication to use. So this is actually still an issue where, okay, so it's anyone here like listen to audiobooks, Audible, whatever? Yeah, okay. Anyone listen to like naughty ones? Okay, because, okay, so I did tell Apple about this. They told me that, oh, well, like audiobooks, I mean, it's like podcasts, like, I mean, is it really a big deal if like people know like what you listen to, right? And then I said, okay, well, let me just share this POC with you. And is audio on for the? Oh, audio's not on. Okay, so okay, well, I can still show. Okay, so I have. Okay, so I just. Oops, let me just go back here. Okay, so I have in the foreground, I have Hotel California populated just to prove that like it's not preloaded or anything. So if you happen to be a little bit naughty and I don't know, you have something like 50 Shades of Grey that you listened to like a year ago, right? So that concept was actually more impactful because it would actually start speaking out the racy content. And just so you know, like I only bought this for the proof of concept. So yeah, don't judge. Okay, so this is still reproducible on all your phones, so you can test it out. Just it survives reboot, so you can. It doesn't matter how long ago you last accessed your this audiobook. It's playable directly from the lock screen. Okay, and then probably the most severe one, and this is probably the one that everyone worries about since I'm guessing a lot of you use ChatGPT, and everyone's worst nightmare is, I really don't want people knowing like what I put into ChatGPT. So let's just take a look at what goes on here. Okay, so I'm just creating a I created a fictitious account, and then I populated it with some, fictitious biographical information, and I just put in some, like sensitive information about this fictional character. Okay, and then, so I'm just prepping that, and then, okay, yeah, sorry for the grainy recording here, but yeah, so as you can see, the iPad is still locked. You can see that little lock icon at the top, and I'm able to interact with ChatGPT directly while the device is locked and ask it like, hey, what did we talk about last time? Who am I? What do you know about me? And get it to basically just reveal all sorts of like really sensitive information, like, oh, hey, yeah, last time we were talking, you were telling me like, oh, you're thinking about applying for Social Security because you're, depressed or whatever. And that's probably something that you don't want people to be able to do on your iPad if they get a hold of it, or your iPhone. So fortunately, because I discovered this issue pretty early, so actually it was kind of funny because first I told OpenAI, and then they were like, oh, did you tell Apple about it? And then I was like, okay, fine. So I tell Apple, and then Apple's like, hey, did you tell OpenAI? And so I was like kind of going back and forth, but ultimately OpenAI just realized that, oh, okay, we just need to make a little tweak to our plist file to fix this. So that was fortunately fixed in August 2024. Okay, so basically what was going on under the hood here is, okay, so when you pull down your spotlight, the daemon that's responsible is called search D, and basically it was skipping I don't think that's me. But okay, thank you. So yeah, it would. So normally it should prompt you for Face ID before it displays any like photos or thumbnails of any documents you accessed. But it was basically skipping that process, and so thumbnail D would basically expose those like your iWork files, your notes, your photos, your shortcuts. Okay. Oh, this is a little fun one. So this you have to pay attention a little closely because it might it's like a one of the split second things where you have to catch it in time to see it. But don't worry, I'll slow it down on replay. So okay, is this playing? Let's see. Okay, there we go. Okay, so basically you can. Yeah, so if you didn't catch that, I'll slow it down here. Yeah, so Face ID prompt kicks in, but then it kicks in way too late. So you can actually kind of see what that person was looking at in their private browsing, if you have that option enabled in your Safari settings. So that was just a nice little race condition I found in shortcuts. Okay, so I just explained that, and then just going back to so this is actually kind of has an interesting story behind it because this is one of the issues I discovered like accidentally, or like unintentionally. I was even trying to like find issues. I was just driving, and then my friend sent me a text message saying, "Hey, I'm having like a disco party, whatever. Can you come?" And then I'm driving, and I can't think of an excuse, right, to like tell them why I can't go. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll just, when I get home, I'll think of some lie, and then I'll tell them later. So I just told Siri, hey, just add this to my reminders. But then Siri, being Siri, like heard the word like this, right? Add this to or I said add disco to reminders, and then Siri thought disco meant this. So it processed the request as add this to reminders, and then I saw like the last thing I had open in Safari pop up, and I was like, oh, that's really strange, right? So, and then I tested it again with the phone locked, and then so here you can see, that's my dog Peanut, by the way, very cute. Yeah, so not good. Okay, and then just going back to ChatGPT really quick, since that's the one everyone freaks out about. So everyone probably assumed that, since OpenAI fixed that issue with the action shortcut, my ChatGPT stuff is safe, right? But I could still pull the title of your last accessed conversation on the lock screen. Just same thing, just add this to reminders. And yeah. And then I can even get the URL for that chat while the phone is locked. Yeah, so that's the URL. So yeah, not good. Okay, so fortunately both issues were fixed in iOS 18.4. So this wasn't just limited to ChatGPT and Safari, but also for like your mail app. Like if the last thing you accessed on your iPhone was like an email, it would expose the subject line of whichever email you were reading. Same thing with health and voice memos, if you had a title for that. Okay, so basically here you can kind of see the workflow of. So basically, Apple thought, okay, like if you're just like your reminders, I guess they assumed like wasn't like too sensitive, so they didn't have the appropriate like Face ID, like Touch ID checks in place. So, but the problem is like when you So when you lock your phone and you see like your lock screen, like it's not really just only your lock screen that's like actually on your phone, but like it's whatever you had last opened, right? It's still like you can kind of think of like the lock screen as kind of like a cosmetic like cover to say, hey, okay, like don't look at this, right? Until you unlock the device. So it was treating it as if the device had been unlocked, and it would just expose like whatever you were last doing. And if you made that request to Siri to add it to your reminders. So now if you test it now, if you try to do this now, it'll prompt you for Face ID, which is good. And then, okay, so that was CVE 2025-24198. And then this one was a little fun one with, okay, so this is just email spoofing using the Contacts app. Okay, so just pay attention to that email address there. So it looks like it's going to testthehunter@gmail.com, right? Okay, and then that looks okay. And then if I refresh my sent folder, oh, I didn't send it to that email, or did I? Right, so that's very strange. So how the hell did that happen? Okay, so basically, okay, so just quick recap of what RFC 5322 is. So this is just your standard email addressing format, just when you send emails. So everyone's probably familiar with this, right? Like you put your recipient's name in the within the apostrophe, the double quotes, and then you can use the angle brackets to put the actual recipient email address, right? So you can see some of those examples down there of how you would format those at the bottom. Okay, so one interesting observation I noticed for the Contacts app is like if you had a really long email address, iOS would just truncate the email address, like it would truncate the display, so it would cut it off. So okay, so what can I do with that? Okay, so if you have a whole bunch of spaces, right? So what I basically did is, okay, can I get iOS to treat like the first email as like the name of the recipient, and then actually put the actual recipient email address within the angle bracket and just put a whole bunch of spaces, since the way it truncates it is it will just show like a dot, right? So, which could be a clue, right, if you're really observant, but if you're not, you're thinking, oh, okay, like I guess that email where it's actually like hp@ministryofmagic.co.uk, that's actually going to Voldemort, right? Yeah, so, and then, of course, since it's treating it as the name, the first email address that you put, that's what it would show when you tapped on the email to send it. So it looks like you're sending it to Harry, right? Unless you tap it and you look very closely, and then you see, oh, it's actually treating that first email address as the name, and then, but the actual email, the actual recipient is, you're sending that to Voldemort, right? And yeah, and if Voldemort's around, you probably don't want to send them. Don't want them to know that you sent such an email. So, yeah. So actually, this issue was so I tested it in both the Mail app as well as Outlook, and I noticed, wow, it's actually worse in Outlook because it would actually kind of gaslight you. So with Apple Mail, you can go to your sent mail. And you can refresh, right? And you can say, oh man, did I really send that to Voldemort, right? And it would actually show it to you. But with Outlook, if you refresh it, it would say, no, you sent it to Harry, right? It's okay, right? Don't worry about it. Unless you tapped into it and then you like actually took like a very close look. So fortunately that issue was fixed. And then the next issue I just want to go over is, so there's a Unicode character, so it's 202E. It's the right to left character. So basically, some languages like Arabic, the Hebrew, they're not read like left to right like English is, but they're read like right to left. So this is the character you would use to kind of like reverse the direction of the text. And I was wondering, oh, okay, like I wonder, if how iOS handles such characters. And what I observed was that, okay, and then when I was testing this in the Files app, another thing I observed too is like, you can actually add like line breaks to the file names when you're renaming them. But it's not super straightforward to do, because if you tap the return key, like when you're trying to rename it, it will just treat it as like, save it as this new file name. It won't treat it as like enter like line break. So the way you can get around that is you just type in like, your Pikachu.pdf, right, on the first line in the Notes app, and then you can type in the actual like, file extension at the bottom, and then you can just copy and paste it from your Notes app to your Files app when you're renaming the file. And so you can actually get, so that looks like a PDF, right? But it's actually a mobile config, right? So it's a profile. Okay, so we can just take a look here to see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to enable here in my options, so show all file name extensions, right? Oh, it still says it's the PDF, right? Oh, right, but PDFs usually don't do that when you tap on, so it's actually a mobile config, and it downloaded a profile to your phone. So I noticed too that with so right to left override, you can also do little neat tricks like this where I'll just let you observe. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like you're going to call that number, right? But it actually calls the number that's in reverse, so you can use that for like phone number spoofing. So this issue is actually still not fixed, so feel free to, don't actually do this to someone, but feel free to test it out on your own time. Okay, and then just while we're talking about characters, just so with Punycode, so there's a Unicode character, like you can see up there in the red, that looks very, very similar to like the regular like slash that you normally use, but they're not the same characters, right? And I'll just show you what happens if you actually go to this URL. Yeah, so it resolves to a totally different domain. So you could use that for, obviously, like you can register the Punycode domain. You could do this with, so I tested this with not just that character, but there's also like the A and E character. That's like a single character. So you can do that for like, I don't know, like Etna, right? You can do like the aetna.com, and it looks like etna.com, but it'll actually go to the Punycode address. So this issue, last time I checked, was still not fixed, so this is still reproducible. Okay, and then the fun one here is, so Apple Intelligence. So basically the way Apple Intelligence works is when you like make a request that uses Apple Intelligence, it will choose like one of three like pipelines to like feed your request through. So normally if it's not a super demanding task that can be handled locally on your phone, it will just be processed on your device. If it's something that'll require more like computation power, like summarizing your emails, that would be sent over to Apple's private cloud compute. And then it'll be processed there in the cloud, and then the answer will be sent back to your device. And then the third option is if you have ChatGPT installed and if you have that extension enabled for Apple Intelligence, then it can like sometimes when you ask Siri, like, hey, like, like what's like why is pi irrational or something, and it'll give you that option, like, hey, like, do you want to ask ChatGPT about this, right? So that's the ChatGPT pipeline. Okay. So with that, okay. So PCC, so private cloud compute, everything that's processed on there is supposed to be obviously private, and it's supposed to be ephemeral, so it's not, like no data is supposed to persist, right? So once your request is processed, it should be completely wiped off, and like no one should ever be able to look at that again, including Apple. So what I did was, I'll just show you. Yeah, so that's PCC data that, like Siri, was basically caching on your device that's being leaked over to ChatGPT. And you can see from the right screenshot, that's what was leaked. And, okay. And then just the last two ones I have here. So this one, okay, so Appleseed is, so it's like sales, education, and I can't remember what the last one was. The other E. Oh, enablement, education, deployment, development. So it's supposed to be like an invite only. So not everyone's supposed to be allowed to just willy-nilly like register for this, since a lot of the information that's contained within Appleseed relates to information that's like supposed to be closely guarded, or information that is only supposed to be known to like Apple like sales partners. So like they might get information about like the iPhone 17 Pro before the launch date. So what I did was, what I noticed was, I was just doing some, I was spending some time on the Wayback Machine on archive.org, and then I noticed, there are actually these registration URLs that seem to be reusable, and you can actually just register and get into Appleseed. So if you're curious what it looks like this. Okay, so you can download the app, and then you can sign in with that account you register with on the left side, which I'll do here. Okay, so I'm just going to verify my MFA code there, and okay, and then I'm signed in into Appleseed, and sorry, I must have been on like a really crappy Wi-Fi when I did this. So. Is that still okay? Is that? Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. So I'm in the app that I'm not supposed to be in, and I can see all the stuff and all the content that I'm not supposed to be able to see. And of course, I use my fake name since I don't want to get banned by Apple. And then just the final issue here is okay. So this issue is actually still not fixed, which is amazing. So basically, when you go to getsupport.apple.com, so any of you have like Apple Care or ever used the Apple support Genius Bar, make an appointment? Okay, yeah. So I can probably pull up your ticket because the only thing that I need to access your ticket info is your last name and your ticket ID number, and your ticket ID number is just an integer that just every time someone creates a new one, just goes up increments by 1. So very predictable. So if you have a last name like, let's say like Smith, Williams, Brown, Robert, something common, like, I mean, if you're like me, like M, like I think you're probably safe. But if you're a Smith, you're probably screwed, since, and then I'll show the proof of concept here. I'm using Burp Suite Intruder here, and okay. So Apple, when I reported this to them, they said, "Oh, well, it's okay because we have a rate limit on there, so it should like time people out after like 10 failed tries." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know if that's really working." Okay, so so I'm looking for like 200 response, so HTTP status code 200 in the response, which would indicate like a successful match. And I'm just fuzzing the, I think I got a little bit cut off there, but so basically I was just fuzzing like the last name. Actually, someone in the back, is there a way you can, did that get cropped, that video? Because it should show like the name of the, okay, so basically I access, so that's someone's actual support ticket that I was able to access. And I was just fuzzing like Smith. So I just went to like 23andMe, got like the top 5 last names, most common last names, and was just fuzzing like, I just did like 1,000 ticket numbers, and I was able to get multiple matches. So, yeah, so just the takeaways, just from all the Apple research that I've done, there's just a lot of the high trust components, they deserve scrutiny. And, Face ID, is basically useless, right, if it's not being enforced. And a lot of the intents and the daemon handoffs are usually like they're under-audited, so any of you who are interested in like probing Apple's stuff for vulnerabilities, that's a pretty rich area to target. Unicode and whitespace as well, that seems to be under-tested. And security, it's not always just permission, but also the context, right? So we saw that with with the books example, right? Because you can just replay your last played audiobook on your lock screen, which is kind of interesting because if you try to do that with voice memos, like voice memos has like an almost identical action shortcut called play last, and if you try to do it with your voice memos, like it'll actually prompt you for Face ID. So yeah, and then a lot of these logic bugs, they actually lurk within like normal behavior, right? So, and of course, authentication does not mean authorization. And I would highly, if any of you are interested in like testing anything on iOS or iPadOS or visionOS, macOS for vulnerabilities, I would highly encourage you to opt in to the beta updates, preferably on a secondary device that you have, just in case something goes wrong. Because whenever Apple releases or adds like new features, they tend to not be as. I assume they do some like in-house testing, but they seem to be not catching all of them since I'm finding so many of them. So, okay, great. So thank you very much for coming to my talk. You can go to that GitHub repo that has all the proof of concept recordings. I actually have a Python script that I wrote for that IDOR I just showed for that Apple support, the getsupport.apple.com thing I showed just now in the Burp Suite. So you can actually do it through Python as well. And yeah, please feel free to email me, please don't spam me, and or talk to me afterwards. And thank you so much for coming. It was great to see all of you. And thanks.
There's a couple of minutes if anybody has any questions. We got a couple of minutes left. Okay. Oh, yes.
Okay, so I think the question was, when I report an issue, like how long does it take for me to hear back from Apple? they've actually gotten a lot better in like recent months. Now, if I report something, they'll at least like tell me if it's an issue that they'll accept or not fix, like within like I don't know, like within a week or so. So that's much better than before, where like I have to like wait months and then maybe they might get back to me. So yeah, so but it does take a while for them to fix issues. So I have a few issues that are scheduled to be fixed this fall. Some of which I actually did want to talk about today, but they asked me not to. So yeah, so some of their fixes, it'll take about like anywhere from like the fastest I've had an issue fixed is probably like 3 weeks or so. That was like that reminders Siri vulnerability that I showed earlier. Other ones take longer. Like there was one that was just fixed in like iOS 2026. I don't know why they leaked that many numbers, but it was just basically like your like being able to use like your text replacement on the lock screen. So so that issue took over a year to get fixed. So a lot of it just depends on like I guess what the issue is, who's triaging your report, and then after the issue is fixed, they'll take anywhere from like 2 to 3 days up to over a year to like determine whether you get a bounty or not. But when they do pay, I mean, it's not bad. So yeah. So thank you for that question. Okay. So anyone else?
So on that last, hello? Okay. On that last one that you showed us about the support ticket, you said that you reached out and they just rate limited. So are they actually going to end up fixing it?
I don't believe so. So I think if more people report that and say, hey, this is actually a big problem, like they might, I don't know, because what I was telling them is, hey, if you actually want to fix this, like you shouldn't like increment like the ticket ID numbers like sequentially, because that's kind of dumb, right? That's like a classic IDOR. And I said you should, use like a UUID or something more, that's harder to brute force. And they were like, well, I mean, it's not that bad because you have to still know the last name. And I said, okay, yeah. So basically, if you're Smith, Roberts, Williams, Brown, I mean, I guess you're screwed. But yeah, so I don't believe they plan to fix that issue.
All right. So that brings us to the conclusion of track 8. General Assembly will have the closing keynote featuring Shawnee Delaney, a former spy, so you won't want to miss that. And then please stick around after closing ceremonies. They're going to be announcing the winner of the Launchpad and the Passport raffle. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.